I found out my own sister was the one who called CPS on me so she could save my kids and, conveniently, our mom's house. When my neighbor showed me her Ring doorbell footage and there was my perfect little sister on the screen, pacing on my front steps, sobbing into her phone and saying my full name to a woman from Child Protective Services, the exact same woman who had sat in my living room a week earlier asking why my kids didn't have a more stable environment. For context, I'm 41, divorced, and a mom to 2 kids. My daughter Emma is 13, my son Caleb is 10. I work as a classroom aide at an elementary school, which is a fancy way of saying I spend my days helping kids sound out words and wiping up more spilled milk than any human being should ever see. We live in a small, slightly chaotic 2-bedroom rental that always smells a little like laundry detergent and spaghetti sauce. It's not Instagram perfect, but it's home, and until about 6 months ago I would have told you, hand on heart, that whatever else I'd screwed up in life, I was a good mom. I grew up in a family where there were 2 kinds of people, the golden child and the cautionary tale. My little sister Ashley is the golden one. She's 3 years younger than me, pretty in the way that looks effortless but takes a lot of money, married to a man who wears expensive watches and uses summer as a verb, lives in a big house with quartz countertops and a backsplash that looks like it belongs in a magazine. They have a boat and a golden retriever and matching Christmas pajamas. Ashley was the honor roll kid, the soccer star, the one mom bragged about to everyone. I was the kid who cried too much, the one who wasted her potential by going to community college instead of a good school. The one who got pregnant at 21, married a mechanic, and then had the nerve to get divorced 10 years later. I'm the one who lives paycheck to paycheck, as my mother likes to say with a little purse of her lips, like my financial situation is a personal insult to her. Ashley and her husband tried for years to have kids. IVF, hormones, surgeries, the whole roller coaster. It didn't work. I watched my sister fall apart every time a test came back negative. Every time another friend posted a baby announcement. I felt guilty every time my children called me mom in her presence, like I'd stolen something from her body without meaning to. She poured all that wanting into being the best aunt ever. She came to school plays with elaborate gift baskets. She took my kids for shopping days and bought them clothes nicer than anything I could afford. She talked to them about college like they were already there. She'd say things like, "If you ever get tired of your mom's little apartment, you know there's always a room for you at our place." Laughing but not really joking. My mother ate that dynamic up. "Ashley has such a generous heart," she'd say. "She'd have 10 children if she could. She just needs a chance to mother someone." She almost never said anything like that about me. If she did, it was followed by a "but." "You're a good mom, but you're so emotional. You're a good mom, but you're always so tired. You're a good mom, but you really need to get your act together, honey." My mom owns the little house we grew up in. It's tired but solid, 3 bedrooms, a yard, the kind of place realtors call full of charm, because they can't say small and old. After my dad died from a heart attack 5 years ago, she inherited it outright. She's 70 now, hips bad, on a fixed income. For a while she talked about selling and moving to a condo, but then Ashley's husband ran some numbers for her and told her she could leverage the equity and do a reverse mortgage, and I don't know, my eyes glaze over when they start talking like that. The bottom line was, the house became this prize everyone pretended wasn't a prize. "I don't know what I'll do with it when I go," Mom would say, staring off into the middle distance. "I just want it to stay in the family. For the grandchildren." She would say that while looking at Ashley, not at me, at Ashley, the woman who physically cannot have children, and at Ashley's big, empty guest rooms. I'd be sitting right there with my actual grandchildren, and still the story in her head starred my sister. That's the backdrop. Here's the explosion. It started on a Tuesday, which is when everything awful seems to happen. I was at work, in the middle of helping a kid wipe down a glue-covered desk, when the school secretary buzzed into our classroom and asked if I could come to the office. Her voice sounded weird, flat. "Is everything okay?" I asked, already bracing, because that's what you do when you have kids. Every unexpected phone call could be the one that changes everything. "There's someone here who needs to speak with you," she said. When I walked into the office, there was a woman sitting in one of the visitor chairs. Late 30s, pressed blazer, clipboard, the kind of calm-faced people in crisis jobs cultivate. She stood up, offered her hand. "Miss Carter?" she asked. "Yes," I said, heart racing. "I'm Ms. Reynolds with Child Protective Services," she said. "Do you have a few minutes to talk?" The world went fuzzy at the edges. "Is something wrong? Are my kids okay?" I blurted. "Emma and Caleb are fine," she said quickly. "They're in class. No one is in any immediate danger. We received a report expressing concern about conditions in your home and some possible emotional neglect, and I need to follow up. Is there somewhere private we can talk?" Emotional neglect. Conditions in my home. The words felt like they belonged in someone else's life. Someone who left their kids alone for days or had needles in the couch cushions. My apartment was cluttered, not dangerous. I left dishes in the sink sometimes. I yelled more than I should when I was exhausted. I'd missed a couple of school events when my car broke down. I was not that. We sat in the principal's office. Ms. Reynolds opened her folder. "I want to remind you that my goal is to ensure children are safe," she said. "Sometimes we get reports that turn out to be misunderstandings. Sometimes they point to issues that need addressing. I'm not here to punish you. I'm here to assess." I nodded, numb. "The report we received was anonymous," she said, and something in her tone when she said anonymous told me it wasn't some random neighbor who had heard the kids screaming once through thin walls. The caller expressed concern that your kids are living in ongoing chaos, that your home is filthy and unsafe, that you frequently leave them unsupervised late into the night, and that you have explosive outbursts that leave them terrified. Does any of that sound accurate to you? "No," I said, so fast I almost yelled it. "No. I mean, yes, my apartment gets messy. Yes, I get frustrated sometimes like any parent. But I'm not. I don't hit them. I don't leave them home alone. I work at their school for God's sake. If I'm not with them, they're with my mom or at Ashley's." "Ashley is your sister?" she asked, glancing at her notes. "Yes," I said. "Ashley Miller. She lives in Brookridge. Big white house, can't miss it." "Does she help with child care?" Ms. Reynolds asked. "Yes," I said slowly. "Sometimes. She takes them for weekends occasionally. They love going there." "Why?" Ms. Reynolds didn't answer that. Instead, she asked about our routine. Who was home in the mornings and evenings? Whether there was anyone coming in and out of the house. Whether I had any issues with substances. "No, I can barely handle coffee." Whether I had a history of depression or anxiety. "Yes, but I'm in therapy and on meds and stable." Whether there had been any incidents of domestic violence. "Not since the divorce. My ex lives 3 states away now." "The report mentioned specific incidents," she said at one point. "For example, that you locked your son out of the apartment for hours when he forgot his key, and that he was seen crying on the stairs while you ignored his texts. Does that ring a bell?" My stomach dropped. That had happened once. The key part, not the rest. I had been in the shower. Caleb had come home from a friend's house, banged on the door. I didn't hear my phone. He sat on the stairs for 15 minutes until Emma got home and let him in with her key. He was upset. I felt terrible. We talked about backup plans. I mentioned it to my mom later and she had scolded me. "You have to be more careful," she'd said. Anything could have happened to him. The report described the layout of our building. It mentioned the exact number of steps up to our apartment. Someone who knew us had made that call. This person described the inside of your home as piles of laundry everywhere, rotting food on the counter, broken glass on the floor. Ms. Reynolds continued. "They said your kids never know what version of you they're going to get, and that they have to parent you. How would you describe your relationship with them?" I burst into tears. Not because any of that was true, but because the idea of my children being painted that way hurt in a place words can't reach. "I love my kids," I said, choking. "I screw up. I get overwhelmed. I apologize when I yell. We talk a lot. We eat dinner together most nights. I tuck them in when I'm not on the late shift. I don't know what else to say. Ms. Reynolds slid a box of tissues toward me. Thank you for being honest about yelling, she said. Nobody is perfect. Like I said, this is about safety. I'll need to see your home today. Is there someone who can let us in when the kids get out of school? My mom has a key, I said, wiping my face. She usually picks them up on Tuesdays because I work the after-school program. Okay, she said. I'll arrange to come by this afternoon. The kids will go home with your mother as usual. I want you to know that in some cases, depending on what we find, we may place children temporarily with relatives while we work on a safety plan. I'm not saying that will happen here. I'm saying I need you to be prepared for that conversation if it comes up. I walked out of that office dizzy. The principal, Mr. Harding, put a hand on my shoulder. We're here for you, he said quietly. We've never had any concerns about Emma or Caleb. They're good kids. You're a good aide. Let the process play out. That afternoon, I drove home behind my mom's old sedan. I could see Emma's ponytail in the back window, Caleb's head bobbing next to her. Ms. Reynolds met us in the parking lot. My mom gave me a tight, brittle hug. This is all such a misunderstanding, she said, too loudly. Everyone knows you're just tired. We'll figure it out. Then she did what my mother always does. She stepped into the role of the reasonable adult and started talking over me. I've told her for years she needs to slow down, get more organized, she said to Ms. Reynolds as we climbed the stairs. She has such a good heart, but she's always been chaotic. That's just our Lori. I wanted to throttle her. Ms. Reynolds walked through the apartment jotting notes. Yes, there were piles of laundry, mostly clean, folded but not put away. Yes, there was a sink full of dishes from last night. No, there was not rotting food or broken glass. The fridge had actual groceries. The kids' beds were made. There were drawings on the fridge, books on the shelves, a chore chart with stars next to their names. Emma sat on the couch with her arms crossed, glaring, while Caleb clung to my side. Can I talk to you both alone for a few minutes? Ms. Reynolds asked them. I nodded, throat tight, and stepped out onto the walkway. I could hear my mom behind me offering to help straighten up. Don't touch anything, I snapped. It's fine as it is. I'm just trying to help, she said, wounded. If this is about someone thinking there's chaos, tidying wouldn't hurt. You mean tidying would make me look less like the version of me you describe to people, I said. She flinched. You're being unkind, she murmured. 10 minutes later, Ms. Reynolds came out. She was professional, expression unreadable. Thank you for your cooperation, she said. I'll be in touch within the week. For now, the kids can remain here, but I want you to know we will also be talking to other collateral contacts, teachers, your pediatrician, family members. If you think there's anyone I absolutely need to hear from, let me know. Talk to Mr. Harding, I said, and their teachers, and Dr. Klein, their pediatrician. They'll all tell you the same thing. My mother chimed in. They spend a lot of time at Ashley's house too, she said. Ashley and Mark have such a stable home. I'm sure she'd be happy to talk. Ms. Reynolds made a note. I'll keep that in mind, she said. That night, Emma crawled into my bed. Are they going to take us away? She whispered. No, I said, even though a part of me was suddenly not so sure. No, sweetheart. They're just checking. Nana said sometimes kids get put in better homes if their parents can't handle them, she said. She said we'd be okay because Aunt Ashley would never let anything bad happen to us. My stomach turned to ice. When did Nana say that? I asked. Last weekend, Emma said. When we were at Ashley's. They were talking in the kitchen and I came in for more juice and Nana said, well, if it ever comes to that, at least we know your kids have somewhere safe to go. And Ashley said, I don't want to go behind her back, Mom. And Nana said, sometimes mothers don't see what's best for their children. Then they got quiet when they saw me. I didn't sleep at all. The next day, I cornered Ashley on the phone. Did you call CPS? I asked, skipping hello. She sucked in a breath. "Oh my God, Lori, no," she said. "Of course not. I would never. Are you okay? Mom told me someone called. I've been sick about it." Ms. Reynolds said the caller described the inside of my apartment. I said, "Only family and the neighbors have that level of detail. And my neighbor is a 90-year-old widow who can barely see across the hall. Do you think I want to hurt you?" Ashley said, her voice getting that injured edge I know so well. "Yes, I complain sometimes that your place is a mess. Yes, I worry about the kids when you're working late all the time. But calling CPS? That's extreme. You told Emma you'd never let anything bad happen to them," I said, "and that if they were ever put somewhere else, your house would be better for them." "Because it would be," she blurted, then immediately backtracked. "I mean, not better because you're bad, just we have more space, more money. If you ever needed a break, we'd take them in a heartbeat. That's all I meant." "Ashley," I said slowly, "I need you to swear to me you didn't make that call." "I swear," she said. "On my life. On my marriage. On our mother's grave. Well, not her grave, she's not dead, but you know what I mean." She laughed weakly. "Maybe it was one of your coworkers. Or a teacher. People talk." Maybe I thought. People do talk. Teachers see things. But they also know me. And the details in that report were things only someone who'd been in my kitchen would know. A few days later, Ms. Reynolds called to say she'd finished most of her interviews. "I spoke to Mr. Harding and both kids' homeroom teachers," she said. "They had nothing but positive things to say about your involvement and the kids' well-being. I did speak to your mother and your sister as well." "And?" I asked. "They expressed concern that you're overwhelmed," she said carefully. "They mentioned your history of depression, your financial struggles, that you've always been a bit scattered. They also made it very clear they love the children and would be willing to care for them if needed." I sat down. "So if this anonymous reporter is them, they've set themselves up as the solution," I said. Ms. Reynolds didn't respond to that. "As things stand," she said instead, "I'm not recommending removal. I do, however, want to put some supports in place, maybe a parenting class, a home organizer to help with routines, and I'd like you to continue with your therapist. We'll monitor for a bit." I agreed to everything. I would have agreed to juggle flaming knives on the roof if it meant keeping my kids. But the pit in my stomach about who had started this didn't go away. A week later, I got my answer. Our neighbor across the hall, Mrs. Turner, is one of those old ladies who watches everything but only comments when it matters. She knocked on my door one Saturday morning, holding her iPad like it was a foreign object. "Honey," she said, "my grandson put one of those doorbell cameras in for me, the kind that records when people are at the door. I don't know how to work it, but he showed me something I think you should see." She came in, sat at my table, fumbled with the screen until her grandson's face appeared in the corner in a little tutorial video. Then she hit play on a clip from 3 weeks earlier, the Saturday before CPS showed up at the school. The date and time stamped in the corner confirmed it. On the screen there was my front door, my worn-out welcome mat. Ashley stood there in her expensive coat, hair perfectly blown out, phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't ringing my bell. I wasn't home. The kids were with her that weekend. She was pacing, gesturing with her free hand. "I just can't watch it anymore," she was saying, voice low but clear enough to hear. "The place is always a mess, she's always overwhelmed, the kids are raising themselves. She forgot Caleb at practice last week. He was the last kid there. That's not safe." That had happened. I'd been stuck in traffic. I was 20 minutes late. I'd apologized to Caleb, to the coach, to the universe. I hadn't realized it had become a bullet point in my indictment. "Yes," Ashley continued. "Her name is Lori Carter. Lori. The kids are Emma and Caleb. I'm her sister. I just want you to, I don't know, check on them? Make sure they're okay? I can't live with myself if something happens and I stayed quiet. She's not a bad person, she's just not stable. They need more than she can give." She laughed, a watery little sound. "No, I don't want her to know it was me. She'd never forgive me. Just please. Do what you can. Then she said the name, Ms. Reynolds. Thank you, Ms. Reynolds, she said. I really appreciate it. I felt my hands go cold watching that. Ashley hadn't just made a generic hotline call. She'd called my specific caseworker directly. They'd had a rapport. This wasn't a stranger worried about kids. This was my sister building a case. She stood there for almost 20 minutes, Mrs. Turner said softly, talking and sobbing. I didn't want to pry, but when those people came with the clipboards, I put two and two together. I thought maybe you'd need proof someday. I thanked her, hugged her, then sat staring at the paused frame of Ashley on the screen, mascara smeared, eyes shining with what looked like genuine anguish. She seemed really convinced she was doing the right thing. That somehow made it worse. That afternoon, when my mom came by to help with laundry, I went out to the dumpster with a bag of trash. Old habits. That's when I saw it. A crumpled yellow legal pad sticking out of one of Mom's white kitchen bags. It had her handwriting on it, then a different, neater script. Curiosity nudged me. I know. Digging in your mother's trash isn't a proud moment. But we were already far past proud moments. I pulled it out, smoothing the crinkled paper. The top half was a list of concerns. Lori leaves dishes in sink for days, apartment smells sometimes, kids eat too much junk food, she cries in front of them, forgets appointments, yelled at Emma so loud neighbors could hear. The bottom half was the same points, rewritten in more formal language in Ashley's handwriting. Children exposed to unsanitary conditions, consistent clutter, dirty dishes, odors. Emotional volatility witnessed by extended family. History of untreated mental health concerns. Multiple instances of late pickups and missed activities. It was like watching a rough draft morph into an official complaint. My hands were shaking so hard I almost dropped it. By the time Mom came downstairs to see what was taking me so long, I was standing there holding the pad like a dirty rag. Did you and Ashley write my CPS report together? I asked. Mom's eyes widened. Where did you get that? She demanded. From your trash, I said. Along with the last shreds of my respect for you. Don't be dramatic, she snapped, snatching for the pad. I pulled it back. You listed Lori cries in front of kids as evidence I'm unfit, I said. Do you know how many times I watched you cry after Dad died? After Megan died? How many times we sat on these stairs while you sobbed? Did that make you unfit? That's different, she said. I held this family together. You fall apart over everything. You helped my sister call CPS on me, I said. You tried to take my children. We were trying to protect them, she said, chin wobbling. You're so overwhelmed, Lori. You work all the time, you're always exhausted, you forget things. Ashley has room. She has stability. She can give them things you can't. Like a mother who lies about their mom to the government? I said, voice shaking. No thanks. She burst into tears then, the loud, messy kind. You're twisting everything, she wailed. We love those kids. We love you. We just wanted what's best. What you wanted, I said, was my kids in Ashley's house and me out of the way. And while you were at it, a nice, neat story about the poor, overwhelmed daughter who just couldn't hack it, so the good daughter swooped in and saved the day. You probably already had a speech ready for church. Her silence was my answer. 2 days later, Ms. Reynolds came back for a follow-up visit. I sat her down at the same table and slid my own evidence across, the ring footage, the legal pad. She watched the video, her face tightening. She read the notes. This certainly clarifies some things, she said carefully. Does this mean my case is closed? I asked. We still have to follow our procedures, she said. I can't unsee what I've seen here at your home. I can't pretend everything is perfect. You have stressors. You need more support. But I can tell you that the picture painted in the original report does not match what I've observed. We will be documenting that the reporter is a family member with a potential conflict of interest. That matters. Are there consequences for someone who lies like that? I asked. Especially when that someone wants my kids. It's complicated, she said. People are allowed to be wrong in good faith. It's hard to prove malicious intent. What I can do is note that your children are safe with you, that the conditions in your home do not warrant removal, and that any future reports from the same source will be viewed in light of this context. It wasn't the punishment I wanted, but it was something. That night, I told Emma and Caleb the truth, age appropriate. Nana and Aunt Ashley told CPS they were worried about you here, I said. They wanted to make sure you were safe, but they went about it in a way that hurt us. I showed CPS what our life is really like. They know you're okay. I'm going to set some boundaries with Nana and Ashley so this doesn't happen again. So they wanted to take us? Caleb asked, eyes huge. They said if CPS thought you'd be safer there, they'd take you in, I said. That might have felt like love to them. To me, it feels like betrayal. Emma was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I don't want to sleep over there anymore. You don't have to, I said. You can still see them if you want, but only when I'm around for a while. Until I figure out what feels safe. My mother has not forgiven me for that. She says I'm poisoning the kids against her. Ashley sent a long text full of phrases like, I did what I thought was right, and you should thank me for forcing you to get help. She insisted she never wanted the kids taken away, just checked on. She said she'd rather have me mad at her than live with the guilt of not doing anything. She did not explain the legal pad, or why she insisted on anonymity if she was so sure she was right. I did not respond right away. Eventually, I wrote back, I will always be grateful that you love my kids, but what you did was not loving. You lied about me to people who have the power to rip families apart. You never talked to me first. You never gave me the chance to explain. Until you can admit that was wrong without justifying it, I can't have you in our day-to-day life. That was 4 months ago. Since then, my relationship with my mother and sister has shrunk to polite texts on birthdays and the occasional stilted visit where I supervise every conversation. We did Thanksgiving at my friend's house instead of Mom's for the first time in my life. My mother said I was destroying traditions. I said traditions built on lies deserve to crumble. I started seeing my therapist weekly instead of bi-weekly. We talk a lot about loyalty, about the difference between being a good daughter and being a healthy adult. We talk about how my mother used guilt as currency my whole life, how Ashley learned that the way to earn love was to be the one who knows best, even if it meant bulldozing over other people's choices. I am trying very hard not to pass that on. Our apartment is still cluttered. I still leave dishes in the sink more nights than not. But there's a new chart on the fridge. Not a chore chart this time, but a boundary chart, honestly. Things we owe each other in this family. Honesty, respect, apologies when we mess up, asking before we intervene. We added that last one together. Emma suggested it. You can't say you're helping someone if they never asked you to, she said, out of the mouths of 13-year-olds. So that's my story, internet strangers. I'm the overwhelmed single mom, whose sister with the perfect house and the empty nursery cried to CPS about her chaotic apartment and unstable emotions, all while telling her she was just so worried and offering to take the kids anytime. I'm the daughter whose own mother sat at a kitchen table making a list of her flaws and turned it into a report that could have gotten her children taken, then still insists she was just doing what any good grandmother would do. I'm also the woman who ended up with a Ring video of her sister begging a caseworker to check on her poor neglected niece and nephew, and a yellow legal pad full of rehearsed accusations, who had to decide whether to keep swallowing family loyalty or finally call what happened by its real name and build a smaller, safer version of family with clear lines in it. If you were in my shoes, if you discovered your own mother and sister had gone behind your back to Child Protective Services, painting you as an unfit parent in hopes of saving your kids and maybe positioning themselves to inherit the house and the children in one neat package, would you do what I did and pull way back, limit contact, and tell your kids the truth even if it means becoming the ungrateful daughter who broke the family apart? Or would you bite your tongue, forgive quickly? For the sake of peace, keep sending your kids to sleepovers at Aunt Ashley's big perfect house, and hope that people who were willing to call CPS on you once will magically never cross that line again?